There we go. I just started the recording. Even my little trick with the paused recording and the red bar didn't work. All right, we're live. Let's do it again. Let's start over. Yay. Happy Friday. All right. Well, the people watching the recording will be they'll be pleasantly surprised, because sometimes I get complaints from people that we spend too much time talking at the beginning. And like one week, somebody actually commented, "You could have done this in 15 minutes." And I'm like, well, it's a live thing and you're watching a recording, and what do you want for free?
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Charlie, except her name wasn't Charlie. Okay. So we're going to go to reports, or as my friends on the East Coast like to say, reports. We're going to run some reports.
Sounds like Wicked Smart, maybe.
The general ledger. And somebody actually in our Facebook group was asking about, the sample company file and how it works. So I might as well kind of mention here that if you ever want to use this and play with it, it will keep your changes as long as you stay in the session, right? Once you log out of it, everything kind of resets to the default. But if you're doing videos or demos or anything like that, as long as you don't log out of it, then it will keep your changes going. Obviously,
can we special request Intuit to please make a different one with different company, and someday would be nice. I'm so sick of Craig's landscaping.
Well, the QuickBooks Online Advanced sample company is a different company, isn't it?
I don't think so.
It's QB Community Live.
No, that's the one we made, but no, it's still Craig's.
Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm still waking up today. Okay, and I've already had 2 cups of coffee. All right, so the first thing I want to do, I'm going to close up my little menu there so I can see more. You know see more, right? And we're going to customize the report, and we're going to change the columns. And down here, I want my debit, I want my credit. Where did my credit go? It moves. I hate the way that moves. It makes it so hard to kind of keep track. Let me see, customer and vendor in there. And what else do we want? I want my product and service. I want my quantity. I basically want everything. I want it all. I want my rate. I thought the account should have already been in there, but let's add that in just in case. Blah, blah, blah. I think that's all I need. So now let's organize the columns, right? So I like my debit and credit, of course, right before the amount. Okay, we'll move the vendor up here next to the name.
You need the amount as well as the debit and the credit and the balance?
I do. I keep it in there because it doesn't cost me any extra to have it. And sometimes it's handy to have the net amount in addition to debit and credit, just depending on how I decide I want to cut up the data later, right? Because remember, we're going into pivot tables with this, so we want as much flexibility potentially as we can have. So that's the main reason. I realize if you're just running the report and you're using debit and credit, you probably don't need the amount, although I've also found that with my business owner clients who don't necessarily understand debits and credits, it's helpful for me to have both in there, for their sake. Let's go. We'll put the product and service after the name stuff, the quantity, and the rate should be, we'll put that there. Let's get the account kind of up there and out of the way, and I'll move the split near the account, because the account and split are really source and target, kind of, depending on what you're looking at. And remember, this is a general ledger, so it has every single account ever. That's one of the reasons I like doing this with this report. So I'm going to run the report. Now, if this were a real company, of course, I would save the customization, so I don't have to go back to it. I'll do it for now. Full detail, right? We'll create a new report group and call it Seth's Junk.
We got your junk and your nuggets, huh?
Stop it.
Good thing Marriott's not here.
So this way, while I'm in this session, I can actually go back to my custom reports if I need to rerun it. All right, now I think I'm ready to export it. We're going to export the report. I don't know why I'm on this East Coast thing. I've lost my East Coast accent since I've been living here. All right, so we're going to just save it there in my documents, which if you've been keeping tabs on my little Notes from Nerds desktop videos, I use the My Drive folder in my Drive file stream as my My Documents folder. That's where I dump everything. This way, if I need to, it's accessible on my mobile device, seconds later. So just a little extra nugget. All right, now we're going to open this up. And it looks like I have my other thing still open. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Now, the first thing we need to do is clean this up because, as you can see, there are cells that come in merge with the headers and things. So the first thing I'm going to do is just highlight the whole spreadsheet. And I do that by clicking between the A and the 1 right up there in the little corner. And up here, depending on your resolution, you may or may not see these kind of functions expanded. Because I'm on my smaller screen, which is better for you guys watching at home from a resolution standpoint, it's a bit limited. But what you're looking for here is the merge cells options. And what we want to do with the whole spreadsheet selected is unmerge cells. That way, anything that is merged will get unmerged. All right? And then over here, I'm just going to quickly do the wrap text and then do it again. That way, anything that might have been configured as wrap text will no longer be. Okay, and then what I usually will do is I'll make a copy of this. Now here comes a big nugget that a lot of people love when I show this. To make a duplicate of this tab, I'm going to hold down the control key and then click and drag on the tab to the right, and it makes a duplicate instantly of the tab. Okay, and usually what I'll do is I'll go back to the original tab and name this raw data, and then this I'll call working or whatever. And that way, I've preserved everything pretty much in its original state after doing that basic cleanup, right? Here, I'm going to give this first column a header. I've got a hair on my screen. That's annoying me. And now this next trick, I have to give credit to Matthew Fulton. He taught me this. It's really cool. It's like so cool. But actually, first, Control End gets me to the very bottom of the spreadsheet. It kind of finds where the last bit of data is. So Control and the End key actually takes you to the bottom right of the data. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll just get rid of some of these extra rows where it had that footer with the timestamp. I don't need it. And so I want to get here to the last row that has total for not specified. And I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Home. So notice what that does. It doesn't only take me to the home cell, it actually selects along the way. So that's a quick way to get that whole column selected all the way up. But I've got the header included, which I don't want. So now I'm going to do Shift down arrow. Okay. And that puts me directly, I did down arrow twice, so I'm directly below where it says checking. But notice the actual active cell is still way down at the bottom of the spreadsheet. You see how this one doesn't look like it's shaded in? It's because that's the active cell, even though it's included in the selection. Since I'm at the bottom with the whole selection in place, if I hit the Enter key, it actually wraps me back up to the top. I want the top cell here to be the active cell, and you'll see why in a second. Okay.
Are you not turning it into a table yet on purpose?
Not necessarily on purpose, but I just, for this part, I don't know if it matters or not, but okay. I don't think it matters at this point anyway. It might have been easier to get to the top there, but either way, if you know what I just showed you, the whole process is 2 seconds, right? Doing it quickly now, if I hit Control End, Control left arrow, over here, Control Shift Home, Shift down twice, and Enter, and I'm there, right? If I know what I'm doing, when you start learning a lot of these keyboard shortcuts, you can do this stuff at the speed of thought, right? That's my whole point, is get used to learning how to, this is why you can do this stuff quickly. This is why when people say, oh, you shouldn't need Excel because there's all these apps, I cringe because I'm like, no, you need to know Excel because it's such a powerful tool for cleaning data, which is what we're trying to do here. Now, this is the part that Matthew taught me. So right with this whole range selected the way it is, and I could have checking selected included, it doesn't really matter at this point, but I'm going to hit the F5 key on my keyboard. That's the function 5 key. And that's my go-to command, okay? And then down here, I'm going to click Special, and I'm going to choose blanks. So what that will do is it will select only the blank cells in the selected region. And when I click OK, at the top, you're not going to see much changing, but if I scroll down, you'll see all the account titles are now not included in the selection, okay? And now what I want to do is I want to set any of these blank cells equal to whatever's above it. And here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to hit the equal sign, and then I'm going to hit the up arrow. And notice we're looking at just this part. But now what happens is if I hold down the control key while I hit the enter key, it will dynamically update everything in the selected range so that everything will be equal to whatever is currently above it. So all these blank lines between checking and total for checking will be called checking. Savings will say savings. Accounts receivable will say accounts receivable. The point is I'm flattening this file out. I want every row to have its account in it. That's one of the problems with the way QuickBooks exports the reports is it does it in that hierarchy, which when you're trying to analyze data is not only not useful, it's not helpful, it actually slows you down. So control enter and always confirm, okay? And sure enough, you can see that it did exactly what I needed it to do, okay? We still have more cleanup to do because I want to get rid of these rows that have the totals and then the first row of each section just has the account. I don't need that. I want a completely flat file that only has rows with transactions in them. So now I'm going to turn it into a table because now I have in the account column, there's something in every row. So starting with where it says account, control shift down arrow gets me quickly down to the bottom of the range. Control shift right arrow gets me exactly as far as I need to go across to the right. I'll manually scroll up to the top just to confirm that I've got the exact region I want, nothing more, nothing less. Right? So I just confirm that I'm going out to the last column, which is balance. And now I'm going to turn this into a table, which you can do a number of ways. You can go to the Insert tab and hit Table, or you can just press Control T as in Table. And since the region is selected, it already knows. You want to make sure this is checked off where it says My Table has headers. That's important. It should by default. The only reason it wouldn't is if you somehow, for some reason, had a column somewhere that didn't have a header in it, and that can throw it off. So as long as everything's nice and clean there, we can click OK, and it turns it into a table. As soon as you do, it takes you into the table design tools, and you can see immediately what's happened. It's, you know, it kind of alternates the colors of each row, and the table itself creates kind of like a spreadsheet within the spreadsheet. And it turns on your filter arrows and gives you some other things that make it really easy to sort of navigate and, you know, sort of manipulate the data. Up here you have your color palette. So if you don't love this particular color scheme, you know, maybe you like this one better. It's very sunshiny, right? The kind of yellowish theme. Let's talk about a golden nugget. This is golden. So what I'm going to do now, just because I still have all these totals and other things that I want to get out of here, I'm picking a column that I know only has something on rows where there's a whole transaction. And the date column is perfect for that. So I'm going to click anywhere in the date column. We're going to go to the data tab, and I'm just going to sort it by that column. Because anything that doesn't have a date now is going to be at the bottom. And so that's all these kind of totals and things that I don't need in this data. So what I did here was after sorting it, control down arrow gets me right down to the bottom. You know, it stops at the last date. And then I go down one more, go to the left, control shift down, selects everything down to the end. And just shift down arrow will advance one cell at a time while maintaining the selection, just so I can confirm that I've got everything. Shift spacebar highlights the whole row. And I'm going to send you a list of the keyboard shortcuts that we're going over today. So don't worry if you're having trouble like, oh my God, I can't remember all these keyboard shortcuts. First of all, you can watch the video again. But secondly, I'm going to send you a cheat sheet with all the keyboard shortcuts. And control and the minus sign will delete everything that's selected. So now I should have a table that's sort of pared down to just rows with data in them. All right, there's going to be some residual formatting, you know, where there might have been a number that was right up against the total. You'll see some borders, you know, like I just saw some here like this. So what we can do just to kind of quickly clean that up is with the whole table selected, the table formatting itself has its own little border line. So if you go here to the Home tab and go here and just choose No Border, that will clean up any of that kind of stuff.
Seth, we are no longer live on Facebook.
Really? Interesting. Okay, that's weird. Yeah, it says the live video has ended. All right, so we don't like this new system at all. It's unreliable. Let's see if I can try going live again.
Do over.
I really just don't like Facebook. I can say that while we're not live yet.
You can say it even when we're live.
Yeah. All right, let's try this again.
Who's the jerk that suggested using that thing?
I'm going old school here. Share on a page. Nerd Enterprises, Inc. Next.
This is actually all planned for everybody to take a breather, absorb everything that you've just learned so far, and take time, get some yellow stickies, put all the shortcuts on the different sides of the screen. So you can remember, like, to go to the right side, you have the yellow sticky there with the code. One to go to the left, you do it on that side.
Is that how, was that your secret to get all this in your brain?
Still is.
Okay.
No.
All right, Excel tips and tricks.
Hey, we should try Live Producer.
No. Go live. Okay. Kind of took the wind out of my sails there. I was on a roll.
Well, let's flex it out, man. Flex it out.
I was on a sheet, not a roll. All right, here we go. Back on Facebook Live. Okay. I think this is now I have to make sure this is the right feed. Just now, looks right. And then I have to turn off the audio on this, otherwise it interferes. And then share, because sharing is caring. Doo-doo-doo. Share to a group. Between. God, this is so slow. Trying again. Hi. Okay, says it's been shared successfully. All right, let me know if we lose it again. So supposedly the live feed from before went off at 11 minutes. So I guess a lot of you missed a lot of that. I guess we'll have to catch the recording on Nerd Buzz when I post it up, later today or tomorrow or something. Anyway, let's get back to work here. So this leaves us with a pretty clean database that we can start working with. But one thing I like to add to this is, what happened here? Somehow I wound up with everything just being called account. How did that happen? Because I confirmed it was right. I know why. One important thing I forgot to do. So I just did Control-Z, undo, to get back here. Everything here is still set by formula. We have to harden that. We have to turn those formulas into values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, Control-Shift-Down, right? And then Control-C to copy. And then I'll just right-click here, paste special values. So that will have the effect of pasting each cell's value back onto itself. So there'll no longer be formulas there. Whatever that formula's result was will be replaced with its result. Or whatever the formula was that was there will be replaced with its result, right? So, and because what happened was with the formula still in place, when I resorted, everything was equal to the header, which is account, right? So now the other thing I was reminded of when I looked down there is I want to format by, well, let's do the date thing first. I got to redo that now. So again, I'll sort there, Control-Shift-Down, Shift-Spacebar, Control-minus. See, when you get these shortcuts nailed down, it's so fast, like I say, at the speed of thought. Now, when I sort by this, it reveals that some of these accounts had like null values in front of them because of the way it spaces in QuickBooks Online. So we're just going to get rid of this quickly. I'll select the range of the ones that line up, and we're going to go Data, and we're going to go Text to Columns, Fixed Width, and Next. And I know I'm moving fast. I'm counting on you being able to watch the recording because I want to cover a lot, in this hour. Next, and with this first column selected, I'm going to say do not import column, right? That will eliminate that part of it and leave us with whatever's to the right. I click finish. That fixes those. And there's another group where it was just only one space instead of two. Again, data, text to columns, same exact process. Fixed with, next. I click here to create the separator, next. This comes in selected. I click do not import, and I can click finish at this point. And that fixes these. And now I want to sort once again by account to make sure that works. And now everything should be sorted in proper order, and it appears to be, right? Now, the other thing I want to add to this that we don't have is I want to add the account type, because that's going to come in handy on a pivot table. I want to be able to filter and say only give me income accounts in the results, right? And you'll see where this gets real powerful. So Control and space bar will select the whole column, Control Shift plus sign, account type, and I'm just going to hit a quick Control S to save this. And here's how we're going to do the account type. I'm going to go back to QuickBooks Online. Okay, and then I'm going to open up my hamburger menu here. We're going to go to reports. We're going to go to account list. And this gives me a list of every account and the type, among other things. So what I want to do is I'm going to export this and write a VLOOKUP formula to bring in the account type very quickly. Okay, so we're exporting the chart. I'll save it. I'm just going to click to open it. And all I care about is the account and the account type. So I'm just going to get rid of the extra stuff here. The account and type, Control C, then Alt Tab over to the spreadsheet I'm working in. I'll create a new tab. And I just want to paste the values in. I don't want any formatting or any of that nonsense, right? And we're going to do a VLOOKUP. I could make this into a table as well. Okay, because then I can name this table. So notice I'm in table design. I can call this account list. You can't have any spaces or special characters in a table name. You can pretty much have letters or underscores. Okay, so this just will make the formula easier to read. Okay, so back here in account type, we're going to say equals V as in vertical lookup. That's literally what that means. It's a vertical lookup, right? And the way we write this formula is what am I looking for? Where am I looking for a match? And then where's the result going to be when I've found a match, right? That's the basic English version of the formula that we're about to write.
Seth, real quickly, as you're doing it, on the little pop-up right below where it's got the formula there, can you hover over the other parts of it and see what happens is it's going to actually, you can see as you're building the formula, what part of the formula is doing what as he builds it out. So
Right.
After you create the formula, can you go and hover back over those?
Sure. Yeah, and you can see the lookup value, which is what I'm presently about to tell it. It's hyperlinked. I can click, actually I can't, I can click on it. It doesn't do anything, but it's letting me know this is the piece that you're about to tell it, right? Right now, the next thing it's looking for is that lookup value. So the lookup value is going to be what am I looking for, which is the account, which is whatever's to my left, right? And as soon as I've established what that piece of information is, then I'm going to hit the comma, right? The comma says I'm up to the next thing. And as Matthew pointed out, notice now it moves me to the table array, which is where am I looking for it? The table array is the technical language, but the simple language of it is where am I looking for this, right? And the answer to that is going to be here, okay? And I can just select this whole table. Okay, now you have to select the whole range. The first column is always where it's looking for the match, right? So that's what I've just done. I've just told it where I'm looking for it. First I told it what I'm looking for, then I put a comma in there. Now I've told it where am I looking for it. And then when I hit a comma, it needs to know where's the result going to be when I found a match. And that's going to be a number based on how many columns out we have the results in that we want to pull. In this case, it's simple. There's only 2 columns. It's looking for the match in always column 1. And in this case, the result is going to be in column 2. So it's a comma 2. Okay, so that's the column index number, is how many columns out is the result going to be in once I've found a match in that first column. okay? And then we need one more piece of information after, so I'll hit another comma, and we need to tell it, do I want it to find an approximate match, or do I want it to only give me a result if it finds an exact match, okay? And you can see it gives you the tips here. True means an approximate match, false means an exact match. So false is what we want here. So I'm going to select, if for some reason, I hate when it does that. I selected it, but it didn't sort of take. So I'm just going to type the word false. Actually, you have to hit the tab key to complete the selection. And close. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, it didn't find an account called accounting.
Because it's a sub.
Right. So let's find that. Right, it's professional fees, accounting, and so the same thing would have happened with bookkeeper and lawyer, right? So here's what we're going to do. Those should be able to, we should be able to fix those pretty quickly. So I'm going to just copy that, right? And I'll paste values. See, and now it figures that out. So what we can do here is we can just kind of filter it and say only show me the number NA ones are the ones where there were errors. Okay, bookkeeper is going to be the same thing. And let's just make sure it's sorted by that so that we bring them all together. Copy. Paste values, decks and patios. Find. Right, so a little bit more cleanup to do here. But it shouldn't be too bad. Should be pretty quick. Equipment repairs. There it is. And now I'm just using a, copy and then search and replace to quickly navigate and find these issues. Fountains and garden lighting. I just press Control C. I go back to my account list, Control Spacebar highlights that column that's got all the account numbers, Control F to find, and Control V to paste in what I had copied on the previous tab that I'm looking for, and then enter. So now that finds it, so I can say Control C on this with the whole account with all the sub-levels. Go back over to here, I can highlight this whole range, right-click, paste values. Boom. Right? And so that's the process I'm doing here. I'm just going to do it very quickly now in the interest of time. All right, fuel. All right, almost done here. There's just a few more left. Page down. Copy that. Page up. Paste the values, installation. Copy that. Lawyer is going to be another one of those professional fees ones. Not specified. Okay, that will leave alone. That's because there's no name specified on those or something like that. So we'll leave that alone. Original cost. That's from the truck. Plant and soil. All right, sprinklers and drip systems, almost done. Telephone. Done. So the only thing we don't have here is not specified, which makes sense. I'm just going to call that expenses for this purpose. It's kind of like uncategorized, right? All right, so now we should have, I'm going to clear the filters. So I was in the data tab. Whenever you have filters turned on, if you come up here, it's grayed out now because I've already done it. But clicking this clear button in the data tab will reset all filters so you're back to seeing absolutely everything in the table, okay? And now what I want to do is show you just a quick example or two of some pivot tables that we can run on this data so you can see how nice it is and how how powerful it is, you know, the stuff you can do with this data, which again, if I wasn't slowing down to explain it to you, if we didn't have the little screw up with Facebook Live, then I would have had this done in less than 15 minutes, right? A whole, you know, set of data, the whole entire general ledger. And it wouldn't have mattered how long it was, right? What I did, I was able to do to the whole range pretty much. So even if it was, the general ledger had twice the number of lines in it, it wouldn't have made any difference in the time it took to do this, right? The only thing is QBO sometimes has problems exporting a whole general ledger if you've got a lot of history in there. So you might, in some cases with your clients, need to do it like a year at a time and then combine it into one big spreadsheet. I've seen that happen where QBO and Chrome, really, it's a Chrome thing more than QBO. It can't handle all that data being, you know, pushed out to the screen all at once. So you might run into a bit of that. So there's a little extra friction, but can still be done. So let's go back. While I've got the table selected, I'm going to go to Table Design. And we're going to click Summarize with Pivot Table. Okay, and it figures out, you know, the range because I'm in the table. It's not hard to figure out what I want to, you know, do this with. So I'll click OK. And this is like building a custom transaction detail report in QBO, but where you have complete flexibility with respect to what you want to see in a column and what you want to see in a row. And you can create multiple sub-levels and have them subtotaled. And so I'm just going to show you a quick example. And the first thing I like to do, just to confirm that I've gotten all the data sort of accurately, is let's go back to QBO. And I'm just going to run a profit and loss. And since I took the general ledger for all dates in this case, I'm going to, you know, the date range has to be consistent. I want to get a report here that shows me the same gross profit. I'm sorry, the same total income, $10,200. I mean, I could do the same gross profit too. But it's just a way of confirming that I've got everything, you know, especially when I did the account types, that everything sort of came over correctly. So we're going to go here. And the first thing I'll do is I'm going to use the amount in this case, not the debits or credits. I just want the net amount here in the values quadrant. I'm going to quickly choose value field settings and number format because I just want it to look like an accounting number. Okay, and now the next thing I want to do, actually the very quick way at this point, is I can filter on the account type. So I'm going to drop that into the filter, and that puts this dialog up here. And I'm going to say select multiple items, but really I just want income. And okay. And it gives me $10,953.59, and I happen to know why it's going to be off a little. And it's kind of interesting. So what I can do now to find out what's off is I'm going to drop the account into the rows. So on the account, I click and drag into the rows. And now I can see exactly how it's presented on the P&L, right? So the design income is $22.50. That's a check. The discount's $89.50. That's a check. Landscaping, $1477.50. The decks and patios is $234.04. And that appears to be where I'm off. So we can do this one of two ways. I can actually double click this to see where this is coming from. And notice these, the transaction types on these, they're all actually expenses, right? It's a credit card expense, it's a bill. And I'll show you what happens here. If I go back to QBO, and this is kind of interesting that they do this, because I don't think they let you do this in your own company. But if I go to the chart of accounts, and I search for decks and patios, I have the same account both as income and expense. So my lookup is only going to find the first one and assume that's the one I want. So it assigned them all to income. Actually, these need to get assigned. This whole account actually needs to go to an expense because none of these are income type transactions, right? It's a credit card expense and it's a bill and another expense. So what I'm going to do is go back to the raw, not the raw data, the working data. And for the account, I'm going to use the filter search and call it decks and patios. Okay, and then for the account type, I'm just going to type expense, copy, paste, copy, paste. And we're going to go back to, where's my pivot table? I'll go to analyze, and anytime you make a change to the source data, you have to go to the Pivot Table Analyze tab, which will only be visible when you have something in the Pivot Table region selected, and click Refresh. Okay, that got rid of that. We're at 10/7/1955, which still isn't a perfect match. Let's go back to Reports and the Profit and Loss for all dates, so we can figure out what else is off, right? So let's see what's next. I have garden and lighting, 2246.50. That's a match. Plants and soil, 2705.09. We're off there, and it's the same kind of thing. In this case, we have an income and an expense account with the same title. Some of them are invoices, which go to income. Some are expenses, and those are the ones that need to be changed. So let's go back to the source. We can get rid of that. Okay, we're going to get back to the working data, and we're looking for plants and soil. So first, let me go data and clear, just so I know for sure I'm seeing everything. Plants and soil. And for the expense transaction types, I want to change these two expenses, right? So there, and the cash expense. And let's save it. I'm going to rename this tab and call it Report, so I know that's my actual pivot table. And again, I need to refresh when I've made changes to the source data. I'm at 10/4/45.71, so we're still not quite there. But let's again see we're off. So plants and soil, 24/31.25. We're still off slightly.
One of your, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the expenses, or two of the expenses, are actually
income.
in the income, right? So somehow they're being recorded as offsets to income. So we have the 2436 and the 5492. So let's go back there. 2436 is there. So this has to be called income. And this should never really happen, because we should really never have the same account name for both income and expense.
You can tell by your G column.
Yes, that's true, because that's the item. Yep. And this should be called product. Those are the items. Oh, I don't need to do that. Actually, that is where I do it. All right, let's go back to our report and refresh. All right, 2351.97. Now that one matches. I'm going to wrap this up real quick so I can give Matthew the floor for the last 15 minutes. So 2246 is a match. 2351 is a match. 353.66 is sprinklers and drip systems. And I think, okay, so that's the other one where we're off. So this should be 138 from the two invoices. Let's go find sprinklers and drip systems. Okay, this is the expense. $138, we're getting closer. Okay, that's 138, 138, then 250 for installation. That's here. 110 for pest control services, and that is there. Sales of product income 912.75. That's a match. Services 503.55. That is a match. 10/1/50.77. We're still off somewhere.
You're missing the labor, maintenance, and repairs.
There we go. Labor, maintenance, and repairs for 50. Let's go find that. Thank you, Tiffany. All right, and this is what goes to income. I assume that's for 50. Yeah. All right, and refresh, and now we've got a perfect match. So that kind of confirms that the data is 100% clean. Like, I'm confident if I've got the income matching to the penny. And now, just real quick, before I turn it over to Matthew, what we can do, that now that we've got nice clean data, and I want to specifically show you, you know, something you can do here that you can't do in QuickBooks or any accounting software for that matter, is I'm going to change this around. Let's get rid of the account from the rows. All right, let's put in product or service in the rows, and then let's drop the customer underneath that. So in 2 quick drags, once the data is cleaned, I can get a really nice view of each product and which customers bought that product, right? I can flip that around and put the customer on top of the product or service and see it the other way. Here's each customer and which products or services they bought. And looking at data like this, you can start to see which customers didn't buy something that other customers did, and start, tailoring your email marketing or your client's email marketing, or suggesting to them, these are the products to sell to these customers, right? This is the power of having this kind of data in front of you, is I can quickly see, all right, Amy's Bird Sanctuary bought these products, but let's see what Amy's Bird Sanctuary didn't buy that she might like. Maybe we can sell her some sprinkler heads, and then, of course, the installation of the same. Maybe we can sell her some sprinkler pipes in the installation, right? You can start looking at the products that are selling to other customers and start cross-selling, right? Recently, I've been talking a lot about how to increase sales, and one of the ways to learn how to increase sales is to figure out how you can increase the number of times a customer buys from you. And the best way to do that is look at what a customer has bought from you, look at that compared to what they haven't bought from you, and say, hey, customer, people who bought products like these ones that you've bought also like these other products. You see Amazon doing that automatically all the time, right? So this is just the beginning, just scratching the surface of the kind of analysis you can do with your clients when you take what really amounted to maybe at the most half an hour. I realize not all of you are going to be as fast as I am with Excel, but that comes with practice, right? The more you do it, the faster you'll get. But really, like a half an hour of time, you can clean the data and start getting analysis like this. And it's really clean, and it's really powerful, because this is how you can literally, we had a conversation on Facebook this morning where somebody was saying, oh, giraffe, it's too expensive. My clients can't afford it. And honestly, I'm calling BS on that. If you start doing this kind of analysis with your clients, this is how you can get them to be able to afford it. And they'll be happy to pay it, because now you're actually adding to their bottom line. You're showing them how they can increase sales, right? This is the kind of strategic analysis and the kind of guidance that they want from us. And this is a really clean and clear and easy way to do it. Again, the key is practice. And I just gave you a perfect way to practice. Go to the QuickBooks Online test drive file, follow along with this video, watch the replay, and do everything I've done. And get in the habit of using the keyboard shortcuts, because that's one of the keys to how you can get this done very quickly. And I'm going to stop. I want to leave time for Matthew to show, what he had prepared. But I think, my main thing was wanting to show you guys a very tangible use case for all of you, because we all work with QuickBooks, and hopefully a lot of us work with QuickBooks Online, and hopefully you'll agree that what I've just shown you is something you can easily do. It just takes practice. And so practice. Do the same data cut up and clean up that I did, and do it over and over again until you really start getting the hang of it and getting fast with it. And now I give it to Matthew.
So I want to show a couple quick things that are extremely useful widgets to have that will help you do all the stuff that we've been talking about. The very first one, some of you know about it, I've kind of talked about it before. It's getting a little button on here, which is select visible cells. This is a very, very, very powerful little button. What it does is, if you've got a big old table, or you've just got a whole bunch of data, right? If I need to filter out all of these blanks because I'm trying to do a cleanup, I can come in, get rid of my blanks. But then if I come in and I just try to copy everything I have here, what can happen is you can grab even the stuff that's hidden behind on accident and still populate it in and grab more than you really want. So really what you want to do is, you can see how I've got the dancing ants, and right here it's actually doing a lot of little segments. This is the same idea as if I come in and I go select visible cells, then copy it, it'll then make it to where you can clean that data. If I then, I can then paste it in after I've done that. Try that again here real quick, control copy. Sorry. Select visible cells, control copy, boom, come up, paste values, will only give me the stuff I need to clean it up. And the way you get to this is you're going to customize your ribbon. So for some people it may be at the top, others it may be at the bottom. That's a choice you can make. you click on the drop down arrow and you can come into more commands. Inside of more commands, if you bring it to the top here and go to all commands, you can hit S to try to get down to, down into where show would be at faster, right? There we go. And in this show, you would have show visible cells would be right within this area, and you just click add to move it over. So select visible cells, sorry, is the right way to call it. Okay, so I moved it back over. Get good with my alphabet here. Boom, add, and then okay. I use this button all the time. All the time, just to grab what I need. So it's super, super useful, super powerful. The other thing is for when you have data, such as we're always playing with, you can actually go and you can do what they call a power query with the data. So if I take a table of information again, I can click on my data tab and I can then go from table range. So if at the beginning when Seth was doing everything he did, he took the time to reorganize the different columns and to remove certain columns to try to clean up as much of the data as possible, which really is the right way to go about it. But at worst case scenario, you can actually come in, run a power query like this, which is just pulling the data, and now you can actually move things around. So if I want my this column here to be over here, I can do that. Rename them. I can change the types. So the date, maybe I want to change this over to being just a date instead of date and time. And as I do all of these little steps, you'll notice these steps are adding on over on the side here. It's very much like running what they call a macro. So you can get your data organized and have everything structured just the way you want, and then save this to where if you're having to pull data and do this multiple times over and over and over again, you can actually save it as a template where you copy and paste and save yourself a whole bunch of time. Once I get this to where I want it to be at, I can come up here. When I go close and load, it's going to create a brand new tab for me at the bottom here. It's a different color header at the top here, so you know that you've got different information. From here, this, anytime if you ever need to change something, you didn't do it quite right, you can literally just double click. Opens that same query back up. So this is one of the ways that if you're using the same structure of data, maybe you're doing PayPal cleanup stuff, and you have to go through a bunch of steps to clean it, use this power query to mimic a lot of it and reiterate it. The last part of this stuff that I was going to try to show you is when you have a certain template. So I do things like I have a special phone number cleaner sheet that I use. Oops, what did I do wrong here? You've got to be out of here or you would not be able to, this basically holds Excel hostage until you get out of it, just so you know. If I want to pull up one of my special function books, workbooks that I have, I can actually come in personally and go new. I'm going to go, I want my phone number cleaner here. The way you create a template like this, so if you have any kind of an Excel sheet you want to use over and over and over again, but you want to have it start off fresh, you'll notice when I save this, or if I open another one, it will change the number of it every single time. So it'd be same exact thing will be now 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, so forth. Version 22, sorry. So it's the same sheet over and over again, right? The way this is done, if you go File, Save As, and if you basically browse, you're going to change the Save Type As an Excel template. Now, I do a lot of stuff with macros in it, where it's automated little widgets. So if I go Excel Macro Enabled Template, what happens is this will move a copy of it to your Documents folder under Custom Office Templates. And in this Custom Office Templates, anything that you save inside of here, you can do this with Word and other items. You have the ability to very quickly pull this up and just use it right away. because for me, like this here, if I had a list of phone numbers, I can type in anything I want, right? It would go through and it just runs a macro, and it'll remove like all of these different versions of this stuff. Dash 5555. And formats them all exactly the same. So this is an example like of something I use all the time, but when I need it, I need a fresh version of it because I don't want to have to go back in and try to clean up a whole bunch of data before I could use a sheet again. Any questions on any of those things? Trying to be very respectful of our time here. Nothing?
When you save it, Matthew, how do you make sure that it's actually saving a new version instead of overwriting the existing one? Like when you just hit File, Save As, it will automatically increment the version number?
So if I take this now, and I was basically, when I go to save this, it's not going to then save back to the template field. This would become just a traditional, let's go Save As. It becomes just a normal document, so it doesn't create like new iterations of that template itself. Come on. Let me leave open. Try that again. File. Save As. Be smart. Click the right buttons. So see how it automatically changed it back to just a standard Excel sheet, or is not trying to save it.
Increment it to version, shouldn't it have gone to version 23? How do you get it to go to version, like the next version?
So it would go to 23 if I go new and open another one.
I see. Okay. That's what I was wondering. Okay. Got it.
So now we've got 23.
Got it. Cool.
So sales tax templates, anything of that nature, all the different everything I make in Excel, anytime I need something to be reused over and over and over again, I save it in there as a template, and I can pull it up at any point in time. It saves all the formulas in there for me, everything. So you build it, create it, and then clear out the data, and then save it as a template.
Rock and roll.
Yay. And we made it still on time.
Yep. We ended right on time, even with the disruptions from Facebook Live's stupidity. All right, then. Any questions?
You guys are quiet.
Everybody's very quiet today, yeah.
Did you guys know those things already? Did I just show you stuff everybody already knew? Okay, cool.
I guess not. All right, so next Wednesday, I'm going to be on desktop time with Ed Pratt from ZenWorks, and they have a 1099 app. I don't know anything about it. I've never seen it before, but I heard it's good. And then next Friday, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on Dynalist. I think for those of you who saw my Start or Restart Your Accounting Business webinar, you saw how I used that to build the outline, and then I used it to present. I'm going to think of a topic, and we're going to use Dynalist to build an outline for another webinar that I'll do, I guess, at some point. So you can really see the process of bringing that together, and you can see how powerful Dynalist can be when you're doing a detailed outline of something. So, and we'll do all the color coding, and then some of you may have seen Dynalist has this really cool Christmas mode. You can see that on my screen. That's a pro feature, though. You have to have a paid account to change the theme. But see, there's my Excel tips and tricks outline. And there you have it. So that's what's coming up. Don't forget to hang out with Gina later today. Go to SBAA on Facebook, Small Business Accounting Advisors, and she'll tell you where to go from there. And we will see you all around the web.
I wish you were coming to Connect, Seth.
I wish I was coming to Connect too.
Tiffany, we'll see you soon.
Matthew's
One
going.
more sleep. 2 more sleeps.
Two.
Two.
Don't take away one.
Two.
Two more
make
sleeps.
it one.
You only get one.
Oh, it's next week. You guys are. It's next
No,
week.
I'm leaving tomorrow to Ontario.
He's going to Ontario, and he's going to Ontario.
Oh.
Right?
No, I'm going to Toronto, but that I know.
But it's in Ontario, right? The province. So
Yeah,
it's
you are
Ontario
right.
to Ontario. If you get mixed up. The cold one is where you want to go to.
Just make sure you don't end up in Guantanamo.
Oh, no.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll see you all later. I got to go.